So I'm going to use the production possibilities curve as a medium to explain the relationship between scarcity, opportunity costs, and the factors of production. So before we get into details, let's go over some concepts really quick. The study of economics involves three basic questions: what goods and services to produce, how to use the resources in the economy to produce them, and how to distribute these goods and services amongst the population. So the first concept that we're going to meet is scarcity. Scarcity is the situation in which available resources, or the factors of production, are finite, whereas wants are infinite. For example, we wouldn't refer to the air we breathe as a scarce resource, but we would refer to clean air as a scarce resource, and you could think about why that is. There are not enough resources to produce everything that human beings need and want, and hence the subject of economics appeared. In economics, we study how to best allocate resources in order to meet human needs. Now, the resources used in production are called the factors of production, and there are four components. Land refers to the natural resources above and below the land, which includes minerals, rivers, and forests. Labor includes the mental and physical contributions of people in production. Capital includes the machinery and human skills in production, and entrepreneurship means the managerial skills possessed by some people to innovate and take risks. So by distributing these factors of production differently, we are allocating resources, in other words, answering the economic questions of what to produce and how to produce. And because we know that the condition of scarcity means that factors of production are limited, we have to make choices of how to distribute them to make different combinations of goods and services in the economy. And this introduces the model of the production possibilities curve. This is a model that represents all combinations of the maximum amounts of two goods that can be produced by an economy given its resources and technology. And this model has two key assumptions. In order to produce on the production possibilities curve, there must be full employment of all resources and productive efficiency. Using the production possibilities curve, we will see how these assumptions enable us to make best use of the scarce factors of production and how scarcity forces us to make choices that incur opportunity costs. Let's suppose that we are in an economy where only two goods are being produced: butter and computers. Due to scarcity, there is only a limited amount of factors of production in the economy, and we want to use the resources that we have to produce as much butter or computers as possible. Now, in order to achieve this, let's say that the economy decides to use all its resources unsparingly, and it makes its first choice. Suppose that it decides to produce 600 units of butter. Subtracting the resources used to produce those, the remaining resources can produce a maximum of 200 computers, and that would be combination A. Alternatively, if the economy chooses to produce 500 units of butter, the remaining resources can produce a maximum of 300 computers, and that would be combination B. Any point along the production possibilities curve, like point A and B, represent combinations of goods and services that can be produced if resources were used efficiently and fully. But what if they're not? So let's say that this economy decides to produce a combination of 500 units of butter and 100 computers at point C. Then there arises the situation of spare capacity or inefficiency, because we know that with 500 units of butter, the remaining resources can produce a maximum of 300 computers, but now we are only producing 100 computers. Alternatively, at 100 computers, the remaining resources can produce 700 units of butter instead of 500. And we know that with the remaining resources, we can produce more goods and services than what we're producing now, and we want to produce the maximum combination. So although point C is attainable, we still want to produce along the production possibilities curve to achieve the most efficiency. Let's look at one last combination. Suppose the economy wants to produce 500 butter and 400 computers. However, we know that at 500 units of butter, the remaining resources can only produce 300 computers. 400 computers is not attainable because, due to scarcity, factors of production are not enough to produce this many computers. Point D is outside the production possibilities curve, making it unattainable. So now we know that the best way to utilize scarce resources is to produce on top of the production possibilities curve. Let's look at what happens when we make choices to determine what combination on the production possibilities curve that we want to produce at. So as scarcity forces us to make choices, opportunity costs are incurred with each choice that we make. Opportunity costs are the value of the next best alternative that must be given up or sacrificed in order to obtain something else. So let's say that I'm an investor with $1,000 that I invested into the cloud services industry. But with this money, I could have invested in the clean energy or the fast food industries that would have given me a return of $3,000 or $1,500. So my choice of investing in the cloud services industry meant that I had to give up the next best alternative of receiving $3,000 from the clean energy industry. In other words, the opportunity cost of investing in the cloud services industry would be $3,000. Okay, so now let's look at how opportunity cost is illustrated on the production possibilities curve. So suppose that currently the economy is producing at combination B, where 500 units of butter and 300 computers are produced. The economy decides to choose a different combination and increase butter production by 100 units to 600 units of butter. Now the economy produces at point A, where 200 computers are produced instead. So this 100-unit increase in butter meant that computer production declined by 100 units as well. So due to the scarcity of factors of production, the choice that we made of increasing butter production meant that we have to give up 100 units of computers. In other words, the opportunity cost of producing 100 units more of butter is 100 computers. So after learning about the production possibilities curve, we can summarize the following. The condition of scarcity means that factors of production are limited, and we have to make choices of how to assign these resources to produce different combinations of goods and services in the economy. And by making these choices, opportunity costs are incurred in the form of the goods and services that we had to give up producing in order to produce at a different combination along the production possibilities curve.